The term perennial, derived from per meaning through, and ennial meaning year, distinguishes plants living more than 2 years from annuals and biennials. Apart from the loose distinction of non-woody growth from trees and shrubs, technically also perennials, 94% of plant species fall under this category. Herbaceous perennials, like small flowering plants, bloom in spring-summer, withering in autumn-winter, and resprouting in spring from rootstock. Factors like climate determine if a plant considered perennial in its habitat is treated as an annual by gardeners elsewhere. For instance, tomato vines thrive for years in tropical regions but are grown annually in temperate areas due to winter sensitivity. Evergreen perennials such as Virginia keep their leaves year-round without woody stems. Intermediate plants known as subshrubs like penstemon have slight woody structures in winter. The symbol for perennials resembling the planet Jupiter stems from Linnaeus's species Plantarum. Perennial plants exhibit a varied lifespan ranging from short-lived to long-lived. This category encompasses a wide array of plant varieties, from non-flowering ferns and liverworts to the highly diverse flowering orchids, grasses, and woody plants. Monocarpic or semiparous plants flower and fruit only once in their lifetime before withering away, while polycarpic or iteroparous perennials flower multiple times throughout their lifespan. Compared to annuals, perennials allocate more resources to roots, crowns, and other vital structures, facilitating their survival from year to year. By starting growth and leafing out earlier in the season, perennials gain a competitive edge over annuals, enabling them to grow taller and outcompete for resources and light effectively. Perennials frequently develop specialized structures like bulbs, tubers, rhizomes, and woody crowns for vegetative reproduction, ensuring their persistence through periods of dormancy in adverse conditions. These structures store essential carbohydrates for new growth once dormancy ends. In regions with constant warmth year-round, perennials might exhibit continuous growth. Conversely, annuals complete their life cycle within a single growing season, generating seeds for the next generation before perishing. Some perennials maintain their foliage throughout the year, earning the label of evergreen, while deciduous perennials, encompassing both herbaceous and woody plants, shed their leaves seasonally, triggered by factors like unsuitable conditions for photosynthesis. Semi-deciduous perennials shed some leaves either in winter or summer, adapting to varying environmental cues. In regions with distinct wet and dry periods rather than clear warm and cold seasons, deciduous perennials lose their leaves during dry spells. Perennial plants exhibit various strategies to survive environmental challenges, such as wildfires. Some possess underground roots that give rise to adventitious shoots, bulbs, crowns, or stems, while others, like trees and shrubs, develop thick cork layers protecting their stems. Herbaceous perennials in temperate and alpine regions adapt to winter cold. Unlike annual plants that complete their life cycle within a single growing season, perennials remain dormant for extended periods, resuming growth and reproduction when conditions improve, with biennials cycling through 2 growing periods. The meristem of perennial plants interacts with hormones influenced by environmental factors, reproduction, and development stage, regulating growth and flowering. Notably, there is a distinction between the capacity to grow and the physical act of growth, as seen in trees that regain growth potential in winter but delay physical growth until spring and summer. Signs of dormancy in perennials include wilting flowers, leaf shedding, and cessation of reproductive processes in both flowering and budding plants. Perennial species often produce large seeds, giving rise to robust seedlings capable of outcompeting other plants. Another vital adaptation during cold acclimation involves the upregulation of DNA repair genes, as shown in Thinopyrum intermedium, a perennial relative of common wheat, where freezing stress prompts significant increases in the expression of specific DNA repair genes crucial for survival in harsh conditions. Various types of perennials are cultivated, ranging from woody plants, like fruit trees appreciated for their edible fruits, to shrubs and trees serving as landscaping decor. Additionally, herbaceous food crops like asparagus, rhubarb, and strawberries, along with subtropical plants like tomatoes, eggplant, and coleus, which are considered annuals in colder regions, are also seen. Perennials extend to plants valued for their ornamental blooms and aesthetics, such as bulbs like tulips, narcissus, and gladiolus, as well as lawn grass and ground covers like periwinkle and dichondra. Different methods are required for separating each type of plant. For instance, plants with fibrous roots can be divided using garden forks or knives, while plants with rhizomes like bearded irises should be planted with the rhizome slightly above the ground level to promote healthy growth. The division of perennials aims to boost the presence of a particular plant species in one's garden. In 2019, the sale of potted herbaceous perennial plants in the United States amounted to over $900 million. Perennial crops offer various advantages compared to annual grain crops commonly used for human consumption. These perennial plants are known for their deep root systems that aid in preventing soil erosion, capturing nitrogen to prevent water contamination, and reducing the growth of weeds, thereby decreasing the necessity for herbicides. There is a recent interest in enhancing the seed yield of perennial species to potentially create new types of perennial grain crops, such as perennial rice and intermediate wheatgrass. Recent developments include a perennial rice variety that, by 2023, had demonstrated comparable yields to replanted annual rice over 8 consecutive harvests. Perennial plants thrive in terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems, with only a few species found in shallow seawater. They prevail in environments prone to fires like prairies and steppes, as well as in colder regions where trees struggle to grow, such as tundras. In natural landscapes, perennial plants, including trees and shrubs, are the predominant species. Their extensive root systems allow them to effectively compete for resources under stable, nutrient-limited conditions. On the other hand, annual plants excel in disturbed environments due to their rapid growth and reproductive capabilities. Herbaceous plants exhibit foliage and stems that perish at the close of the growing season, demonstrating primary growth. This category includes frost-tender varieties like Rudbeckias, Mirabilis jalapa, and mint, among others. Evergreen plants maintain their foliage year-round, devoid of woody stems, comprising species such as Senecio, Gaillardias, and Vincas. Woody plants, on the other hand, possess above-ground stems that endure multiple growing seasons, featuring primary and secondary growth, with some being deciduous. Examples encompass a vast array of shrubs, trees, and lianas like lilacs, grapevines, and apple trees. Additionally, monocarpic plants bloom, produce seeds once, and subsequently perish, with notable instances like agave and certain Streptocarpus species. A wide array of perennial flowers are cultivated for their ornamental blooms, encompassing numerous species and varieties. Some notable examples are Achillea, aster, Bergenia, dahlia, foxglove, hollyhock, Kniphofia, lupin, salvia, and phlox. Perennial fruit-bearing plants such as apples, blackcurrants, blueberries, blackberries, currants, grapes, pears, plums, raspberries, and strawberries are common even in temperate regions. Perennial herbs are plants that persist for many growing seasons. Examples of perennial herbs include fennel, mint, rosemary, sage, and thyme. These plants have the ability to regrow each year from their rootstock and do not need to be replanted annually. Numerous vegetable plants have the ability to thrive as perennials in tropical regions, but are not able to survive in colder temperatures. Examples of some perennial vegetables include asparagus, chives, globe artichoke, Jerusalem artichoke, kale, leek, New Zealand spinach, rhubarb, sea kale, and sweet potato. Aquatic plants, though lacking woody tissue, are often perennial. Some examples of such plants include the New Zealand stonecrop, Crassula helmsii, pickerel weed, Pondidaria cordata, water soldier, Stratiotes aloides, which sinks to the pond bottom in winter, and the common bladderwort, Utricularia vulgaris, known for producing turions as its overwintering stage. There has been a conventional belief that annual plants have originated from perennial ancestors, but recent studies have shown instances where perennials have actually evolved from annual predecessors. Surprisingly, research indicates that the transition from an annual to a perennial life cycle is twice as rapid as the reverse. The life history theory suggests that annual plants thrive in environments where adult mortality exceeds seedling mortality, leading to their dominance in areas with disruptions or significant temporal fluctuations that diminish adult survival. This theory is supported by the observation of a higher prevalence of annuals in regions characterized by hot and dry summers, characterized by increased adult mortality and persistent seeds. Additionally, the evolution of annual life cycles across various plant families under hot and dry conditions stands as a notable example of convergent evolution. The prevalence of annual plants globally has seen an increase alongside expanding human activities. Human-induced disturbances such as domestic grazing have notably contributed to the proliferation of annual species in grasslands. Activities like grazing and cultivation, particularly post-European settlement, have facilitated the introduction of annual species from Europe and Asia into the New World. In many ecosystems, the dominance of annual plants is commonly a transitional phase during secondary succession, notably following disturbances. For instance, abandoned fields may initially be colonized by annuals before being replaced by longer-living species. Interestingly, in certain Mediterranean ecosystems, a unique situation arises where perennials do not necessarily replace annuals even when the latter are dominant. This peculiarity is attributed to the presence of alternative stable states in the system, where both annual and perennial dominance can be stable depending on the initial conditions of the system. Annual plants typically have a faster growth rate, allocate more resources to seed production, and allocate fewer resources to roots compared to perennial plants. This difference in life history strategies has significant implications for ecosystem functioning and services. Perennials, with their long-lived plants and short-lived seeds, contrast with annuals that compensate for shorter lifespans by maintaining a higher persistence of soil seed banks. These differences in resource allocation affect ecosystem services such as erosion control, organic carbon storage, and nutrient and water use efficiencies. For example, annuals, due to their lower investment below ground, have a reduced impact on these ecosystem services compared to perennials. In agriculture, the distinction between annuals and perennials is particularly noteworthy. Despite their relatively small global biomass, annual plants are a crucial food source for humans. Their emphasis on seed production enhances agricultural productivity significantly. In the current Anthropocene epoch, characterized by widespread human influence on the environment, there has been a notable increase in the prevalence of annual plants globally. This shift is primarily attributed to the conversion of natural perennial systems into annual croplands. Presently, annual plants cover about 70% of cropland worldwide and contribute to approximately 80% of global food consumption. Moreover, in molecular genetics research, it was found in 2008 that deactivating just 2 genes in a specific annual plant species could convert it into a perennial plant. By switching off the SOC1 and FUL genes, responsible for flowering time regulation, in Arabidopsis thaliana, researchers induced perennial plant characteristics like wood formation. During the initial year of a biennial plant's life cycle, it focuses on primary growth where its vegetative components like leaves, stems, and roots develop. The stem usually remains short, while leaves form a rosette close to the ground. Once this first year's growing season concludes, the plant goes into a rest period for the colder months. Many biennials necessitate exposure to cold temperatures known as vernalization before they can bloom. Come the following spring or summer, the stem of the biennial plant elongates significantly, a process commonly referred to as bolting. Subsequently, the plant blossoms, bearing fruits and seeds before reaching the end of its life cycle. Biennials are not as abundant as perennials or annuals. It's essential to note that not all biennials strictly adhere to a 2-year lifespan. Some may require 3 or more years to reach maturity. The size of the rosette leaves can help predict when a plant will transition to its flowering and seed-producing stage. In certain instances, under harsh environmental conditions, a biennial may expedite its life cycle, potentially completing it in 3 months instead of 2 years. This phenomenon is particularly common in vegetable or flower seedlings that were vernalized before being planted. Consequently, many plants that are typically biennial may be perceived as annuals in specific regions. Conversely, given exceptionally favorable conditions, an annual plant may undergo successful seed propagation, giving the impression of being biennial or perennial. Some short-lived perennials may masquerade as biennials rather than showing true perennial traits. True biennials only flower once, unlike many perennials that bloom annually once they reach maturity. The sweet William dwarf plant exemplifies a biennial species. Biennials cultivated for their flowers, fruits, or seeds are attended to for 2 years, while those grown for edible leaves or roots are harvested after 1 year without being retained for a subsequent year to go to seed. Various examples of biennial plants include species from the onion family like leeks, certain members of the cabbage family, parsley, fennel, lunaria, silver beet, black-eyed Susan, sweet William, colic-weed, carrots, and certain hollyhocks. Plant breeders have developed annual varieties of several biennials that can flower in the first year from seed, such as foxglove and stock.